Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Max with BuzzTox here, and I am back with a Watchmen theory video. And I had to make this video because we're going into the season finale of Watchmen, and I think there's a lot of surprises that are coming down the pipeline. And after watching the show up to this point, I strongly believe that everything that we're seeing unfold with Lady True, with Will Reeves, with Dr.Manhattan, is all a result of Adrian Veidt pulling the strings. So I really wanted to go through the show and explain what Adrian Veidt or Ozymandias' master plan is, what he wants to achieve, and what his motivations are. And I think with Veidt and other characters, it focuses in on two key concepts. The first is God, utopianism, and perfection. And the thing with God that I find funny is he's seen as a flawless figure. He is this perfect form, this perfect shape. But God was created by humanity. And humanity is inherently flawed. And they explore this in the show. And this premise is the core of Watchmen. It's people in power trying to preemptively act to try and stop humanity from cannibalizing itself. And there are many different characters who have a different means in which to restore humanity or restore peace. Originally, Ozymandias' plan was to drop a giant octopus on New York. He thought that would get the world to stop focusing on nuclear weapons, but instead worry about a threat above, rather than worrying about the threat of other humans. He thought that he could use fear to bring people together. But the sad part is in the last episode we see that Ozymandias' plan didn't work. He sits in his facility at Antarctica and is blown away that people are still building nuclear weapons. And Dr. Manhattan very intelligently explains that they build the weapons, ironically, to feel safer. So after all this time, Veidt's realized his plan didn't work. And now we have a new character who's kind of taking that Ozymandias role, and that's Lady True. And she has a plan that hasn't been revealed, but she wants to completely fix humanity. We know that she's working with Will Reeves, we know that she built a giant clock tower, we know that she built it in Tulsa, Oklahoma because it's safe from the elements. And her mission to fix humanity is to fix the injustices. She's unhappy that the United States came into Vietnam and took over their way of life. She wants peace, and she partnered with Will Reeves, who tries to fix humanity in his own way by killing white supremacists, to try and create equality by eliminating the bigots. So outside of the concept of people trying to save humanity, there's the other concept of time, which we see clocks throughout this whole show. The clock's always leading down to something or an event. We see Veidt looking at his clock, blowing out candles on a cake every single year to mark a countdown to his inevitable plan. Because the way we see time is chronological. We have what's happened, we have what is, and we have what's going to be. But then there's the other aspect of time, and that only exists in the form of Dr. Manhattan. And to him, time is non-existent, or it exists all at once consecutively. He lives every moment of his life all the time. And that gives him a new approach, a new perspective. He is essentially a god. And the one funny thing about Manhattan is if you look at his past, he himself is very flawed. And we talk about that in our Dr. Manhattan video. And that is, and we see it in this episode, that Dr. Manhattan gets hung up on love. He fell for Laurie Blake. And Laurie Blake was the reason why he agreed with Ozymandias to let the world believe that aliens have invaded the world. So it was Laurie Blake that led him to love humanity again. And now this time around, he's in love with Angela Abar. And that's just a measurement of what resides with Dr. Manhattan. Love is important to him, never hate. Adrian Veidt tried to kill Dr. Manhattan, but we see that Dr. Manhattan holds no ill will and actually works with Veidt. He even trusts Veidt enough to take a mechanism that eliminates his memory, making him extremely vulnerable. But it just shows how important love is to Dr. Manhattan. And I think that concept will feed into this show, and I'll go into it a bit further. But the one thing that defies all time is love. It jumps time zones. It stays with you no matter where you go. We have a god sacrificing his powers just to be with someone. We have Lady True recreating her mother so she can live again. And I think with that, Veidt learned a valuable lesson, and we'll see that in his actions. The first time he tried to save the world was with an octopus, and he wanted to save humanity by fear. He wanted them to fear aliens. But this time, Adrian Veidt wants to save the world using love. And it's going to be the love of himself. And he's going to give them love by providing them someone to worship, a hero. And I think he's been planning this for years. And it all starts with his interaction with Dr. Manhattan, when he knows Dr. Manhattan is in love with Angela, and he provides his Plan A. The device that'll make Dr. Manhattan almost mortal because he doesn't remember who he is. So I think what Veidt realized here is love literally brought a god down to his knees. And just wanting to experience that led Adrian Veidt to have power over Dr. Manhattan. He eliminated Manhattan's memory, made him vulnerable, is now considered Manhattan's friend, and had Dr. Manhattan teleport him to Europa, which is Dr. Manhattan's utopia, to be isolated and pronounced dead on Earth. And this is the moment that basically starts Adrian Veidt's plan. Dr. Manhattan is now weak and is living amongst the people, so he's not going to deter or distract from his plan or affect his plan at all. He now sold most of his assets and technology to Lady True and her organization, a woman who is motivated and aspires to be Adrian Veidt. And she will carry out creating this sanctuary and clock tower. Lady True called it the first wonder of the New World, and she said that it tells time. So while both Veidt and Lady True are an expert in biochemistry and genetics, Veidt entrusted his stuff to her because she's going to fulfill what he needs. But where Lady True thinks that she's building the first wonder of the New World, she could be making the first chapel or the first church of the New World for Adrian Veidt's arrival. And we see even Lady True worships Veidt with the golden statue, as well as this comet we see here. I think Lady True is trying to pick up Veidt on his return to Earth. So while everything's going according to plan on Earth, Veidt is on Europa, biding his time, until the very moment where his plan needs to take effect. We hear many pieces of dialogue that hint at how Veidt feels about himself. We see him talk about his love for humanity. He thinks that these beings that Dr. Manhattan created are perfect. He's not satisfied living amongst them. And he sees Earth as his home, and he sees the 7 billion people living within it as his children.
Why is heaven not enough?
This is not my home. My home is 390 million miles away. My children, all 8 billion of them, are undoubtedly standing in their cribs, crying out in desperation for me to return. Heaven is not enough because heaven doesn't need me.
So he sees himself as the protector of the world, as a god. And I think what he realizes here is that he needs the admiration of people that he actually cares about, and those are people from Earth. And we see a hint at his plan taking effect when we see Mr. Phillips give him a horseshoe in his first year of being there. And he discounts it and tells him it's not the time. And I think there's a couple things here. Number one, I think Mr. Phillips operates on the same level Dr. Manhattan does, since Dr. Manhattan was his creator. Since they don't operate on a timeline, and time is everything at once, the only thing that's really valued is love. But secondary, you get your timelines mixed up. And Mr. Phillips wasn't supposed to give the horseshoe to Veidt at that time. He was supposed to give the horseshoe to Veidt 7 years later, which is what we see in the last episode when Veidt is locked up. So Veidt is now prosecuted, which he expected to happen. He's in prison and got the horseshoe, which he was waiting 7 years to happen. And now he's going to escape. And he's already prepared. He has his message already laid out on Europa. So Veidt is going to make his escape back to Earth, and everything's going to be set up exactly how he wants it. Dr. Manhattan is going to be captured by Keene and the 7th Cavalry. Laurie Blake, or Silk Spectre, is now captured by the 7th Cavalry also. It's coincidental that she was also in love with Dr. Manhattan. And Lady True now has her infrastructure in place. And it's just asking, what is it that she's doing right now? She is partnered with Will Reeves, and he has a technology that brainwashes people into doing what he wants them to do. And Lady True has developed nostalgia, a drug that allows you to go and live back your memories. She says that she realized that was a mistake because people live in the past, and she thinks memories is a hindrance to peace, even though she made her own daughter in her mother's image. So there's a paradox there. If memories are so harmful and they bring pain, then we should eliminate them. But if you eliminate them, then it takes away who you are. And I think Lady True could have a couple of potential plans that Veidt would then either support or foil. For one, Dr. Manhattan said that he can take his powers and make it into an organic substance. The clock of the New World looks very much like Dr. Manhattan's symbol. She could take the organic matter of Dr. Manhattan, have a cataclysmic event that kills billions of people, and creates a new world in Tulsa, Oklahoma with a small group of people where she gives them all the organic matter of Dr. Manhattan. So it's a living, breathing world of gods, essentially, that live timeless, and that could create peace. It could also be an empathy mechanism to show people and live through the perspectives of other people, much like what we see Angela Abar do with her grandfather, Will Reeves. But no matter what way you look at it, it could go one of two ways. It's clear that Lady True really values Ozymandias. She has a gold statue of him, basically worships him, and she says that her father will arrive soon. Her father could either be Dr. Manhattan, the person who saved her from the woman who was killed by the comedian, or her father could be Ozymandias himself. So either Lady True was hard at work to create a situation that Veidt will come and back up, or Veidt put her in charge to create a cataclysmic event out of fear, and then Ozymandias can come and save the day one last time. But either way, to the people of Earth, it'll look like Veidt died, disappeared, and then he was reborn, much like a god, and came back to save the day. Veidt did so this time out of love, gaining support of all of Earth, and he can get exactly what he wants. He'll be the father of his 7 billion children. But we will see how he deals with Dr. Manhattan. Either Dr. Manhattan is going to make it through this alive, or he's going to pass on his abilities to another. It could be Angela, it could be Keen, or even Adrian Veidt could consume Dr. Manhattan's organic tissue and become him, since he's been watching the creation of Dr. Manhattan for years and years on Europa. It's really unknown. But whoever steps up to that plate of being Dr. Manhattan, it's a burden, because the only thing you crave is love, but based on your circumstance, you can never really achieve it. And based on experience, Veidt knows the best way to control something so powerful like Dr. Manhattan is love. That's why Angela and Laurie Blake are going to be in the same place, and that's how they're going to get the best of Dr. Manhattan. But I know that was a lot of information. I had to spew out all of my thoughts and feelings. Please let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Let me know if I missed anything. I probably did, because there is so much stuff to go through. But anyways, until next time, I'll see you guys later.